Thanks, Facebook. Hi, hope you're having an awesome day. I'm so excited to do this Overeating Summit with you. It's been so fun doing this series, and I've just loved it. I hope you've loved it. And I've been reading so many of your emails and your tweets and your Instagrams and all your comments about how it's just helped you, and it lights me up, and I'm trying not to cry because I'm just so touched and so moved. The response has been so amazing. And anyway, so let's get in. The Overeating Summit. This is what you voted on. In the very first video, I asked everyone to vote what their biggest struggle was, and overeating was the big one, the big winner, which was also my biggest struggle. And today I'm going to get into how I stopped overeating, what I do at meal times to prevent overeating, 5 wacky truths about hunger. These are seriously wacky things. And how I reset my appetite, and you can too. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and because I've been keeping it real, here's a picture from today to prove that I, say what I say. And there's actually a little video on Instagram where I'm really being honest with what my abs look like. So definitely check that out. All right. Oh, so here's some of the, like I said, I really loved reading the responses, and these are amazing. I'm so excited to see that Stacy decided to change her routine, and Amy did too, based completely on the video. This just lights me up so much. And here was another one that was really cool and inspiring. And I loved what Laura said about the potato and how it was a big game changer for her. So I'm just super happy to help you. And anyway, so here's a quick recap in case you haven't seen the previous videos or read the emails or any of that. In the first video, I shared my 3 biggest culprits, why I wasn't losing, why I hit a weight barrier, what was going on. And then, like I said, 40.1%, almost half of you voted overeating as your biggest culprit. Snacky came in second, which is why we're having the Overeater Summit today. And then in the last video, video 2, which you definitely want to check out, I explained the thermic effect of feeding, which is crazy and also amazing. And once you know it, you can really lose weight more easily because you just sort of understand the science. And that's what that whole video was about, what to eat, the science behind why it works, whatever. But anyway, today, how to stop overeating. Yay! And like I said, all week, this is an incredible opportunity for you to get unstuck with my blueprint. So I'm super glad you're here, and I'm super excited to share with you more of what I've learned and more of this awesome, wacky science. Okay, so here's what's happening today. By the end of this video, you'll know how I stopped overeating, and you can steal it, copy it, apply it to yourself today. I'm going to also give you 6 easy strategies that I use with my clients and on myself to prevent overeating at meal times, and also the science why each thing works. So these things are legit. It's not just tested on me or my clients, but the science is sound. So you can take them, use them, have some success. I'm also going to give you another embarrassing confession. You guys are just inspiring me to be super honest with all your love. 5 wacky truths about hunger, and seriously, some of it is so shocking. And also, like I said, how I reset my appetite and learn to eat a little bit more biologically, and how you can do the same. I know a lot of you have been saying that, Lindsay, can you help me? Tell me how to get my portions in check. Lindsay, tell me how to stop overeating. What do you need to do? How do I reset this thing? I want to stop being eating so much food. Got you. We're going to do that today. Oh, lots of you guys are saying hi in the comments. Hi. Okay, so before I get myself distracted and start talking to everyone who's waving at me, because I love you, let's get going. Okay, so here's how I stopped overeating. And overeating, dealing with it, it's kind of like taking a pot of spaghetti, throwing it at the wall, and see what sticks. So take what you like, ignore whatever doesn't work for you, try it all a couple of times. So how I stopped overeating. The first thing for me, and this is probably the biggest, is I modified my behavior at meal times. And we're going to dig into that today with the 6 strategies I just talked about a second ago. But the most important thing you can do right now, because strategies take time and you have to keep practicing them, and these are really easy ones, so don't get too nervous. But the big thing for me, first out the gate, first easy win towards stopping my overeating, was I had to spend an entire week eating very specific calorie appropriate meals so I could learn what an appropriate portion was for my biological needs, because I was completely out of whack. There was so much portion distortion going around, and we all know it exists in restaurants, but I was doing it in my own home too. So for me, I really needed to eat very structured so I could kind of get this blueprint, this picture in my brain of what a meal looked like. And so here's some of the meals that I eat and what they look like. This is from my meal program. And one thing I did, because I'm a superstar and I want to, multitask, is when I was going through this reset period, when I was recalibrating, when I was trying to teach myself, I made sure all of the meals were thermic effect friendly, because I like to work, smarter and not multitask. So if you're going to take this approach, do the double whammy for the win. But one of the things that also was super helpful for me was when I was eating these very specific calorie meals so I could learn portions and understand my biological needs. I took pictures of them too, and I would take them with me to restaurants and social gatherings, and then I would try to like order off the menu or get things from the buffet that looked like the pictures I had in my phone. And that was another way that this was a tool for me to really learn like how to eat and what to eat. Like it was just really helpful. Plus I'm the kind of person that's super duper visual and I need examples and I need things to copy. And this is how that worked for me. A quick note is using the same food bowl can be really helpful. This is actually a Buddhist practice. Like monks do this where if they use the same bowl, and if they have enough food in the bowl, they know they have enough food and they're just eating like basically like a grits oatmeal kind of thing. But a lot of my clients do this too. They use the same bowl, and the way that it works for them is they're like, okay, well, this was enough food for me last time, so this is enough food for me today, and it's going to be enough food for me tomorrow. It sort of gives them that outer boundary to sort of, I guess, have a little extra insurance or a little bit of extra confidence. So that's something. I do want to say really quickly, and this is not my confession, is initially I was pretty sad about there being less food. I was coming from eating 4 and 5 plates of food in a meal and these big gorilla salads and like blending all these bananas as ice cream. But what I did was I took my time eating to make sure I could really like make my meal last. But then when I wasn't hungry after 20 minutes, when I realized I wasn't hungry and it actually was enough for me, I felt okay. And that just sort of kept reinforcing what I needed to do. And like I said, I would also be like, okay, well, this was enough yesterday. This was enough today. And this worked. This was the only way that I successfully reset my appetite from what I call hungry hippo to more of like a skinny and delicate swan. And I actually can, eat a sandwich now and be like, oh, that was enough. Whereas before I'd be like, what? That's it? That's so little food. So something that works. But eating proper meals every day for a week, or ideally longer, but at least a week, will really help you develop the framework to eat more biologically on your own. It just sort of resets everything. It recalibrates everything. And this is really the only way I've ever been able to get clients to reset their appetite thermometer without having a lot of rebellion and mental backlash. So if you're one of those people that rebels and like, especially on like diets or something, this is really a good way to do it. Okay, next thing. I think I mentioned that all of my meals were TEF friendly. If not, I just have a note about that. So now for some really awesome scientific strategies. 6 ways to prevent overeating at mealtimes and the science behind why each one works. Because I know you guys love the science to like really get it behind your head. So the big one, if you do nothing else, if you take nothing else away, do this. Eat sitting at a table. Seriously. Most important, only eat at a table. Why? When you sit down, you are making a conscious decision to eat. You know those calories count. The tendency to rationalize or forget what you ate, because I've had temporary food amnesia. I know you guys all have too. Don't pretend you don't. Also, the tendency to impulsively eat, all that sort of disappears if you just sit down. If you're eating while you're standing, that means you're multitasking, so you're not paying attention, and that can make you a mindless muncher and make you overeat just because you're not paying attention. And so, let's be real. Like, any time that we're eating in front of the fridge or over the sink, like, these are not good practices. So eat at the table. It counts. You'll be more conscious. You'll remember you ate the food. You won't forget, which is something I see a lot with my calorie counters. They remember the things they eat sitting, but then they're like, oh, I did eat that thing standing by the sink. So, standing, not eating at a table, eating in your car, all these things, welcome the opportunity to tell yourself it doesn't count. I actually have to tell a story about my one client who, there was a chocolate cake on her counter and she's like, I'm not going to eat any of the chocolate cake. And then she like took a lick and then she took like a sliver, and like this went on all day long, and she was only taking like these tiny little baby slivers. She ate the whole cake. And the funny thing is I really believe if she'd just taken a slice, sat down and ate it, the rest of the cake would have existed. But she like fooled herself into eating and not even remembering that she ate the whole cake. So anyway, no, that really was a friend. It wasn't me. So, I went back. Sorry guys. 2. Keep food off the table. This is a really great practice. This, I think, probably is why I lost 10 pounds. When you eat dinner, serve it like in the kitchen, at the stove, somewhere else, and then go to your table. Don't have it just there in front of you, like on the table. I know that's family style and it's how I was raised too, but if you have to do that, put like covered tops on the pots, something. Out of sight, out of mind. In sight, in your mouth. Every time you see food, every time, you have to say no to it. You have to say no to something that's tasty and right there, often within an arm's reach. I mean, how many no's does it take you to get to a yes? Me, it's probably 3. So, willpower is very exhaustible. So just don't even put yourself in that position. Have it somewhere else, preferably really far away so you have to really get up. Okay, number 3, wait 15 minutes. This is one that I tell every client to start with right away. It's a great practice. If the other ones seem intense, this is it. Wait 15 minutes before you have seconds. This also is an amazing hack with desserts. You can actually eat, there's amazing studies on this. You can eat 1/4 of your dessert, pack it up, go distract yourself for 15 minutes, and you won't want the rest of it. So this is a really great practice if you want to have dessert, but you're also counting calories. It's been done with all kinds of things from chocolate to cookies to ice cream. I've tried it on myself. I've tried it on friends. I've tried it on clients. It really works. But even putting the dessert hack aside, for dinner time, this is amazing. It's what I tell all of my bingers, all of my overeaters. Listen, wait 15 minutes. Get up, go do something. They laugh because I tell them to clean their toilets or walk the dog, because as soon as you clean a toilet or you pick up poop, you no longer want to eat. It's very, very successful, and everyone has a clean bathroom. But you can do other things. You can fold, or you can do something pleasurable, whatever. But at the end of 15 minutes, you're amazingly not hungry anymore. And I'm going to get into this science a little bit more in a bit. Another great strategy is to eat more of the same thing. Don't start something new. Don't pick up a new food. Like, I used to have this practice where I'd eat my dinner, and then I'd stand in my fridge, and then I'd eat hummus, and then I'd eat an apple, and then I'd eat pineapple, and then I'd go and I'd look for like a cracker or something. Like, I just kept eating all these like little different things. Oh, 2 little pieces of chocolate. Oh, a little bit of raisins. No. This doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Eat more of the same thing. And the reason, the sort of science behind this, it's a new research, but it says that we have these different thresholds for different flavors. So every time you start with a new food, you're starting all over again. You have to hit that new threshold. So you just literally keep starting yourself over and wanting more food. And this explains why after we've had a giant dinner and we think we can't possibly eat anymore, once someone says dessert, we're like, ooh, dessert, yes. And we suddenly have room, and then we're hungry for the dessert. So this is sort of why that explains eating more of the same thing you were already eating. So for me, let's say I ate my dinner, I waited 15 minutes, and I'm still hungry. I'm just going to eat more of the green beans. I'm not going to eat something new. And this is, I think, why dessert gets a lot of people in trouble, because it starts the hunger engine all over. So something to do, not to open Pandora's box. This confession's coming. I'm getting nervous. I'm really getting nervous. Okay, so this one, number 5, I just mentioned a second ago, which is have something pleasurable to go to. Like, after you're done eating, go do something you really enjoy. I did mention earlier that I often make people clean their toilets, which most people don't enjoy that, but that's the first stepping stone for them. Eventually we get to doing something they enjoy, whether it's sitting outside, reading to their child, flipping through a magazine. I have one client who loves to tear paper. You do you, whatever that is. I sometimes just sit in my closet in the quiet because no one can bother there. Like, no judgment. Please don't judge me. Whatever it is, lately I've been like, I just get 15 minutes to like massage my feet and my hands, or do my nails, or what did I do? What did I do last night? I puzzled. So having something pleasure to do. And here's why this is. Lack of other pleasures, like if you don't have other pleasures or interests or hobbies or escapes, this is why most adults overeat. And I'm really going to dig this in deeper in a future workshop, which I'll tell you about in a little bit and again tomorrow. But lack of pleasure, other interests, hobbies, escapes, that's why most people overeat. And so this is where my big confession comes in, and I cannot believe I'm going to say this. Okay. I used to eat a second lunch to avoid going back to work. I had it in my head that I was only allowed to take a break or zone out or stop working or stop going if I was eating. And so if I wasn't ready to go back to work yet, or I was in the middle of watching a show or reading a book and I was really enjoying it, I thought the only way that I could continue, like the only justifiable way, would be to keep eating. And I would sometimes just do this. Like, I would just keep eating because I didn't want to go back to work or my life or whatever. And eating just became justifying why I was watching Hulu or Netflix on my lunch break. Like this was happening on my lunch break. Keyword break. I'm supposed to be taking a break. But that was my insanity. And, but now I eat. And then after I'm done eating, I watch my show or I read my book or I do that other thing. I have that pleasure after. I don't look at Instagram while I'm eating. I look after. Actually, I try not to do that because it just makes me hungry again, which I'm going to get to in a second. But I really had to realize that self-care is very important to stopping of eating, and that eating isn't always self-care. Like making good choices is self-care. But this eating I was doing was not self-care. And I was trying to nourish my soul. And it was like I said, it was my insanity. And I noticed I did this after work too. I came home and I would pour myself a drink or I would make a snack and then go sit on the patio to unwind. And one day I was like, I can just sit on the patio and unwind. But it was like I had to have this thing. I had to be eating or drinking alcohol to be able to unwind. And I can remember early on crying because I wanted to go to a bar, and my husband was like, why do you aren't doing it? I'm like, because I need to learn to live my life in a way that I'm not escaping from it. I need to be able to learn how to relax without eating food and drinking alcohol. I need to learn this as a human. And he just kind of looked at me like I do that all the time, which he does. He's so amazing. And I used to get so pissed at him because he'd go hit baseballs and I'd be sitting here at my desk working on the weekend. And what I was really pissed at was myself, because my husband was doing something for him. He was doing some pleasure. He was self-caring and I wasn't. That was the truth of it. So that's my big confession for today. I have a lot I can say on this subject, and especially how for years food and eating was the only kind of way I got pleasure in my life. It was my only hobby, my interest. I couldn't tell you if I liked anything else. I couldn't tell you what kind of books I liked, what movies I liked, but I could tell you what food I liked, every kind of food in every which way. And so food was my everything, and it can't be. It just can't. And because it was also my job and my business, that made it a little bit more hard. But anyway, if you're really connecting to this, if this is really hitting, if our hearts are being connected right now, I'm going to post a link to a post I wrote on Facebook about a month ago, and you can read that to get a little bit more, because I do want to move on. So the last tip is eating without distractions. And recovery from, and not just overeating, anything you're doing, whether it's shopping or gambling or sugar, whatever it is, recovery requires awareness. Knowing that the thing, in this case overeating, is an issue for you, being honest about it, and then having the willingness to make changes. That's really it. That's the pie in the sky. That's where 12-step programs come from. It works. It's it. That was how I did it. That's how you can do it. But you can't find this awareness or recovery from overeating or anything if you're distracted. You just can't, especially with overeating. If you want to find true hunger and you want to stop overeating, you have to be listening. You have to be paying attention. It's not fun. I admit, this was the hardest thing I did. This was so hard for me. It was so hard for me not to watch television when I ate. It was so hard for me not to listen to my book or read my book or look at the internet or anything, because there's all these things I want to do and read and feel that I got to do. And I was trying to multitask, and it didn't work with eating. I was trying to work and eat, did not work. Driving and eating is deadly. I'm surprised I didn't ever crash my car. But you really do. You really have to me. It was torture. Like I said, I loved eating and doing things. Even as a kid, I can remember that I would read the cereal box while I was eating cereal. Is that weird? Did anybody else do that? But I did that. Even as a kid, a really small kid, is I would read while I was eating my cereal. And anyway, once I started to focus purely on eating, I definitely overate less. And it helped me become, more in tune with my true hunger, which we're going to get into now. So here's two interesting things about hunger. And you're going to want to shoot me for the first one. First, we treat hunger like an emergency. It's not. Hunger, not an emergency. We can go so much longer with food than we can go without water, and yet most of us live in a completely chronically dehydrated state. And what's even more amazing is when we are thirsty, we still don't go look for water. We don't drink the first liquid it presents itself. We don't drink from a tap in a public bathroom, for example. We just deal with it. But the moment, even the slightest twinge of hunger, we're all like, what? And we're willing to eat whatever's around. That would be like drinking the weird bottle of something liquidy on the sidewalk. But that's what we do. And that's crazy. It's crazy. The second thing is that, and this is what I call overeating 102, not 101, is a lot of us, and I'm in this group, we eat now so as to prevent all future hunger. We eat to make sure we'll never be hungry again. And this doesn't work. I tried. All right, so when I first went vegan, let me back up. So when I first went vegan, and this was in 2007, so 11 years ago, I found myself at a lot of restaurants and social gatherings where there was nothing to eat. Now I look at these moments like, oh, nothing to eat here? Yes, I'm safe. There's no risk for overeating. And what I would say to people, and they're like, but there's nothing for you to eat. I'd be like, oh, I'm not here for the food. I'm here for the socialization, the memories, and the celebration. This is a really good response. Steal it. Take it. I'm not here for the food, the socialization. I'm here for the socialization, for the wedding. Anyway, but at the time, I hadn't worked all this out. I started carrying food with me, which I would always eat because it's like money. It was burning a hole in my pocket. I needed to spend it. Or I would eat a whole lot more before I went, so I would be safe in case there wasn't food for me. And then if they did have food, even though I'd already eaten, I would eat it because there's a vegan option and I want to be supportive and grateful, and I had the fear of missing out. Basically, the moral of the story here is I'm just really amazing at justifying eating. But this was initially, it started out as a self-care practice, and then it turned into this raging fear of hunger and me always trying to eat so I'd never be again. Oh, this isn't working. I'll get to my side note to stackers. Anyway, like I said, what started out as a self-care practice turned into a raging fear of hunger and me always trying to prevent I'd never be hungry again. So here's my side note to snackers. My friend Carrie, she admitted to me after I started this series that she didn't feel hungry, like real hunger, for 3 years. And she said it may have even been longer. And when I asked her why, she said, well, it's because I was always overeating and snacking. Like, I just constantly was eating. The second I felt a little bit of hungry, I was eating. I was constantly eating. And she said it wasn't until that she started controlling her portions and eating only her 3 meals a day. She basically did the blueprint that I'm going to tell you guys about. She never felt hunger. So she was completely out of whack. She never felt it. And that was my experience. And it was one of the first things that I kind of realized. And it's one of the first things I also tell my clients is to stop snacking. Stop. It's this terrible American invention that has made almost all of us overweight and overeat. So that's my little soapbox for today. So the fear of hunger is real. I know a lot of you are experiencing it based on what you're saying. I definitely have it still, but it's gotten a lot better. But here's how I got over it. And if you listen to my podcast, you know this answer. The only way I got over my fear of hunger was to make myself go hungry and experience for myself that it wasn't an emergency. Initially, I experimented with intermittent fasting, which is where you eat 8 hours and you fast for 16, which basically means I skipped breakfast and had a super early dinner. I actually don't recommend intermittent fasting, especially if you're prone to overeating or you have a history of binging or you think you might be. Intermittent fasting makes a lot of people overeat and binge, even when they weren't overeaters or bingers before. But sticking to a 12-hour window each day is generally good practice for everyone. The podcast will dig really deep into this. So skipping breakfast a couple of times as an experiment is great for you. Try this out. Intentionally plan to skip breakfast. You're going to go through all the hunger, but you're going to see that it isn't an emergency. It's just really helpful to do. And I want to let you guys know you've all done this already. You've had to fast for blood work. You've been stuck in a meeting when you were hungry and you couldn't leave to get food. You've been stuck in your car. Like, you've made it. So this is something you've already survived. You're just going to have a reminder and a moment, and it's going to be a little experiment where you really observe sort of yourself and what's going on. And when you do this, when you purposely let yourself go hungry, you're going to see that hunger, it's like a wave, straight up like an ocean wave. It grows and it gets loud and it seems really intense, but then it breaks and it levels out and it recedes really quietly, really, really, really quietly. But most of us, we get so scared as it's growing and the intensity and the loudness that we never see what happens on the backside. It's very helpful to sort of really see that this is a wave. One of the ways I prevent my overeating now is by writing my hunger wave. I write it. And so for me, when my wave is growing, when it's really sort of going into that peak and it's super loud, I don't eat. I wait another 15 to 20 minutes. I'll sit in my car. I'll drink water. I'll do any number of things, but I won't eat, because if I eat when it's going to that peak, I will eat everything in sight. It's like off to the races with Lindsay. Lindsay does not stop. But if I have my glass of water and I wait 15 minutes, or I just go do something else, it's 10 to 15 minutes at the most. It subsides. It's nice and quiet. I'm calm. I'm not in that emergency heightened state anymore. And when I'm at that calmer place, I eat and I stay connected to my body so I don't overeat. And this is just a huge, huge hack, trick, tool I'm super excited to share with you. And I hope it's blowing your mind up, because it blew my world up. And like I said, you've already done this to yourself. You've showed up at a restaurant starving, ready to eat the menu. Then the waiter didn't come. And then you finally took your order. And then the kitchen took forever. And you were going to eat the chair and your neighbor and maybe your arm. But then eventually it stopped. And you don't remember this moment, but by the time the food came, you were magically not trying to eat the menu like when you first showed up. So you've all been through the wave. You've all been through it. Like I said, fasting, in the car, at work, everyone has been through this wave before. You just need to experience it again so that when it comes, you can say, oh, this is the wave. I just need to ride it like a surfer. Okay, so let's talk about true hunger, because I know I've been talking a lot about that a lot. And sort of some of the myths and science around that. So only eat when you are hungry is like advice I hear all the time from gurus, especially if they're not science-based. And I think it's great advice. I do. But most of us have lost touch with this basic biological response called hunger. And it's from overeating, but it's also from cultivating false hunger, which some of it's our fault, some of it's not. And that's what we're going to talk about. And I want to tell you it's not your fault, guys. It's not your fault. Even if you've been overeating or snacking or eating junky foods, you've definitely had some skewing of the biological response and you've cultivated false hunger. You didn't know you were doing it by doing these things, so you're forgiven. But here's the thing. Even if you were the most on the ball, on the spot, most aware person on the planet, and it's not me, I promise, you being human, existing in this modern society, you would still have false hunger. You will still have it. No matter how much you learn, how much you practice, it'll still exist. Because that is the whole point of marketing. It's to cultivate false hunger. And even if all the businesses in the world were nice and stopped marketing and trying to persuade you and influence you and 9,000 other things, even if that all went away, you would still be affected by false hunger. Because somebody else just eating around you, your coworker, your kid, your neighbor, you're walking in the supermarket, like the orange isn't intending to dupe you, but it still cultivates false hunger. And so we're going to get into that. So here are 3 ways you're making yourself fake hungry. And this is truly shocking science that explains all of it. So the first is you can make yourself feel hungry by looking at food. Pictures of food, even thinking about food will make you hungry. Sit with this for a minute, because I promise you'll be like, oh my God, she's right. This is one reason why I have to limit my Instagram. But it's true. You can feel hungry by looking at food, smelling it, pictures of food, thinking about it. It's going to make you feel hungry. It is. And the way this works is by looking at it, smelling it, it tricks your body into thinking food's coming. Like your body isn't you're not having communications. There's some miscommunication happening in your body. This is also unpreventable. And what happens is your body, you're looking at food, you're smelling it, and it's like, oh, food's coming. Cool. Let's get ready for that party. And so your body secretes insulin, other digestive hormones, because like I said, it thinks food's coming. This is a reasonable response. Like if you're looking and smelling food, of course food's coming. But this process, it lowers your blood sugar level, which is what makes you feel hungry. You don't need biologically, you don't need food, but your body's just like doing its thing. It's the natural progress. One quick note I want to add before I move on to the next tip is the more you salivate, like the more you like sitting there drooling, the more likely you'll become to impulsively eat and overeat. And the more you think about something, the more you're going to eat of it. So if you're one of those like romancers and fantasizers, a good practice would be like, as soon as a thought comes in, to be like, thank you for that thought, brain. Next. Like really try to move on to the next one. Because it's why we get so caught up with cravings. I'm going to have a great workshop on that, so stay tuned. But yeah, thinking, Instagram can be very unfriendly in this. Eating automatically. So like if you always have a snack every day at 2 p.m. at, a scheduled time, this is going to make you overeat, and it creates all the falseness. And I know this is like super bummer news, but scheduled eating, just like on the bot, scheduled eating. And there's been some great studies that people who eat because it's a certain time, they weigh more. And people who eat when they're hungry weigh, like, just they wait. It can even be like a minute or two difference, but it's just like this routine eating is the real problem, especially if you're not, again, checking to see if you're hungry first. But routine eating is, again, super bad, because what happens is you train your body to automatically release those hormones. And this is shown in blood work, like of people who are fasting. Their body, even though they're fasting, their body is spiking with these hormones because they've conditioned themselves to eat at certain times, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner time, for example. And some of this is not avoidable. I get it. We have to, life, work, I have a lunch break. I get it. But you can still do some things. There's some parts that you can still modify and not make it scheduled, especially like with the snacking. I really can't discourage snacking enough. Eating poor quality foods, meaning foods with a low cost of digestion, like you learned about in the last video, those foods will also create this sort of false hunger. And the way that works is eating processed foods creates symptoms of irritability, fatigue, weakness, stomach fluttering, stomach cramping, all that kind of weird feeling in your midsection. And most of us, in that pain, all those symptoms I just described, they can be, two things can happen. You can suffer through it, or you can eat more food, which makes it goes away. And because eating more food makes it go away, all of us have rewired our brains to think that those are symptoms of hunger, but they're not. They're not actual symptoms of hunger. What they're toxic hunger. I don't really like to use that word, but what they are is detoxification symptoms. They're the symptoms that happen during the catabolic phase of digestion. If you eat quality foods, you won't get these symptoms. I dig super duper deep into this in season 1 of my podcast if you want to learn more. But basically, when you're not eating TEF friendly, you're going to have a lot of symptoms that make you think it's hunger, which make you overeat, even though you're not hungry. You're just hungry for some relief. Okay. Now that you know about false hunger, I know, tons of information, guys. I told you it was going to be a summit. But now that you know this false hunger, you can become more aware of it. So here's an example. Because, what did I just say earlier? Having awareness is recovery. Okay. So this takes time. I'm not going to lie to you there. But what you'll do is you'll start to have questions, because you're going to be aware of this false hunger going forward from right this minute. You're going to start slowly building this awareness. And that's going to start to present itself like, oh, is this hunger? Like, am I really hungry right now? Like, have I had enough? Is this enough? Is this hunger or is this habit? Like, am I really hungry, or am I just used to having an apple after my lunch an hour later? Is this really, am I really hungry? Am I really hungry for popcorn, or is this just a habit at the movie theater? Or am I just smelling popcorn that guy over there has, and so it's making me hungry, but I'm not really hungry because I just had dinner like 20 minutes ago? Like, you'll start to have these conversations with yourself. And so here's an example is last night, I had a really big dinner. So if you didn't know, it was mine and my husband's anniversary. And about 40 minutes after dinner, and it was a big dinner because it was an anniversary dinner, I started to feel hungry. And I sat with it, and I still felt hungry. And I was like, well, so I started having my conversations. I thought about what had I just been doing? Like, what was going on? And I realized, I was just on my phone. I was on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, I was seeing tons of food pictures. Well, no wonder I'm hungry. There's so much food porn on Instagram. So what I did was I put my phone away. I went and did something for 15 minutes, and it was gone. It just was gone. Totally gone. And I was thinking about this workshop, and I was like, I'm going to add that in there. This works. It's so effective. I didn't clean my toilet, but I did something else. Anyway, it really lights me up. Oh, you guys are doing so many comments. I love it. Thank you. It really lights me up to know that this is helping you guys. So thanks for the comments. I appreciate it. So awesome. And I really, before I say this next thing, I just want to say how much I love you, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate your support. And I'm so glad you've been watching these videos and they've been helping you and you find it super fascinating. My inner nerd is so glad that someone else is going to benefit from it. But I have to say this out of love. I really am. My arms are around you. I love you. I'm saying this out of love. All of this information is cool, and it's so great. The information, the knowledge, learning, wanting to learn, that's awesome. And you should be so proud of that. But information doesn't bring change. Only taking action brings change. I've read, 50 some books, another 50 studies. And here's the thing. Even reading one book wasn't going to make a difference in my weight. I wasn't going to break my plateau. I wasn't going to lose those pounds by reading that book. I only would do it is if I took what I learned and applied it. And the reason I'm saying this is because I think a lot of people are like me. You're really smart and interested and curious, and so you want to learn, and you think that's important. You think you have to learn. You think you have to have the foundation, and it's helpful, but the most helpful thing is to do something, is to actually do. And I see this a lot of times with my meal plan members and our VIP group and my private clients is they all want these books to read. They want me to give them these lists. They want me to lecture them more. And they just want to sponge up and soak up all this information, which is notable. But what they're doing is they're using learning to feel like they're doing something. They're using learning to feel like they're making progress. They're using learning to feel like they accomplished something, but they're not. Learning is just a really dressed up form of procrastination. And I don't want that for you. I want you to get unstuck. I want you to have change. Weight loss science. Oh, I missed this slide. Weight loss science only rewards action takers. You have to take action to get results. Now, if you're ready to take actions and get the results that I did using science, there's going to be, like I said, a very incredible opportunity for you tomorrow. Application is super hard. I get it. My brain's overwhelmed, and I was the one that was making this presentation. And it does require a lot of guesswork and a lot of trial and error. As you heard me here, I was having some trial and error even with knowing all the stuff that I know. Been there, done that, no fun. But I want you to get unstuck immediately. So here's an email I got. I've been getting lots of emails like this, like, Lindsay, what do I do? Tell me what to do. I just want to follow, tell me what to do. Just give it to me step by step. I want to know, what can I do? What can I do? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to release tomorrow my blueprint. This has been something I've been working on for about 2.5 years, but it's my blueprint. I'm taking all of the science, and this blueprint is what I used, and it will give you what you need to get my results faster. You're going to have the opportunity to get this blueprint tomorrow. It's a huge shortcut. I'm going to show you how to make the best choices, like how to eat the most effectively for weight loss using the thermic effect of feeding. A lot of you have been asking me, can you give me a list of foods or meals or something that, is high, that has a high cost of digestion? That's tomorrow. You can totally understand what foods to eat that have the best TEF. They're TEF friendly. I'm also going to tell you a lot of my simple strategies, a lot of things 20 things you can buy at Trader Joe's, 20 meals that are at Trader Joe's right now that you can buy and eat that work, that follow this, that are completely compliant. I'm also going to share 40 things that I eat at restaurants, because I know that's something you guys are always asking about, what do you eat at restaurants? So I've got that for you. But even then, if you're not, that's tomorrow's opportunity. But I want you to know that if you take all these tools and all these strategies that I've shared with you in this video and the previous videos, and you apply them to yourself, even if you just apply 1 or 2 of them to yourself, you will get your weight loss going again. You will. And there's a reason you've been connecting to this and you've been feeling like your brain's lighting up too, is because it's singing to you and it's telling you yes, this is what's going to work. This is what's going to take. This is what she did, and this is what I'm going to do. So sort of like a final recap, I've given you the exact methods, all the science that I use to lose 25 pounds and break my plateau. And if you use it, if you take these things I've been giving you, you will lose weight, and you will know why, and you will know what to eat. If you use the blueprint, you'll get there even faster, and I really would love to help you with that. So make sure you come back tomorrow, you watch the video, you check your email, all that good stuff, because it's one opportunity, it's limited. I can't work with that many people, but I want to work with you. And lastly, I just want to say I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of you for seizing this opportunity to learn and to find out what you need to do to lose weight, because that tells me that you care. You care about yourself, and you care about science, and you care about your health, and that's beautiful. And that's amazing. It's epic. You're awesome. And so keeping our tradition. Oh yeah. If you're ready to take your weight loss to the next level, don't miss tomorrow's video. Here's your final thing, our tradition of the day. Stay accountable. Which one of the anti-overeating strategies that I gave you earlier are you going to try tonight? I want you to pick one, because the only way, if you leave a comment saying which one you're going to do, you'll do it. You won't do it otherwise. So stay accountable to yourself. Pick one of these 6. I want you to tell me which one you're going to do to stay accountable. These are the best science-proven anti-overeating strategies out there. They're the best. They're the simplest. They work. I've tested them. The science is there. It's solid. So let me know. What are you going to do? Eat at the table? Keep food off the table and serve elsewhere? Wait 15 minutes? If you're hungry, only eat more of the same. Have something else pleasurable to go. Eat without distractions. So, which is it? Oh, very varied answers are coming in. Oh, this is going to be all over the board. I'm not sure there's going to be a clear winner with this one. With all the other surveys, you guys have always had a clear one, but this one seems pretty level. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing how you guys are going to stay accountable. And last thing, if seeing exactly what I ate, the other day I posted on Instagram every meal I ate throughout the whole day. If seeing what I ate in a day was like super helpful to you, and you want to see more of that, or even want to see multiple days of that, definitely come back tomorrow, because you're going to really get to see that. So don't miss tomorrow's video or tomorrow's email. And I look forward to talking with you guys then.